What's going on, everybody? Here's a shock. There's Kirk Cousins news, and the combine hasn't even started yet. I was going to cut up a video, do some editing. Then I decided, nah, I'm just going to do the Bill O'Reilly bit. We're doing it live, honestly. And the Twitter civil war has already escalated itself. You got the Kirk Cousins stand saying, yes, pay him $50 million a year for 4 more years because he's worth it. That's his market value. Why wouldn't you give Kirk Cousins $50 million a year? Then you got the Kirk Cousins haters saying, no, don't give him anything. Stand tight. And at the end of it, we should probably just be trading him now anyway, which is ultimately ridiculous every bit as much because, well, you really don't have much behind him. At the end of it, I've come around to understanding that, okay, if you are going to stick with Kirk Cousins for this year, okay, that's what you should do. Stick with him. Had a great year last year, no doubt about it. But have a succession plan. At some point, come up with a succession plan. You know, the biggest problem with this Kirk Cousins discussion isn't about his contract. It isn't about the number of years he's got left. It isn't about his cap hit or how much money he's worth or not worth. What it really is that it is an excuse 1 year after another to never have a plan to have his replacement ready at some point. Because at some point, you need to have a replacement. He's not going to play till he's 50. He's not Tom Brady. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not Drew Brees. He's Kirk Cousins. And that's a good thing. Kirk Cousins is a very good quarterback. He's not an elite quarterback. He's not a garbage quarterback. He's a very good quarterback. Top 10. Just coming off the best season of his career, no doubt about it. So at some point, though, we have to have a succession plan. Put something in the comments for me. Tell me what you think they should do. Should they just play the year out and let the chips fall where they may next year? Should they absolutely give him an extension at his market value and give him whatever he wants so he can retire a Viking because the Vikings owe him something, apparently? Vikings don't owe him anything, and Kirk Cousins doesn't owe the Vikings anything. I don't want to listen to this nonsense about how Kirk Cousins needs to take a pay cut. It would be nice if he did. No doubt about it. And I'm going to get to some of the machinations about what would be good and what wouldn't be good for both sides. But Kirk Cousins does not owe this organization anything. No player in the NFL owes anything to any team. They are there to play and to make themselves money and to set themselves and their families up as best as they humanly possibly can. So, no, they're under no obligation to take pay cuts. They're under no obligation to do team-friendly deals. But at some point, what's more important to you? Now listen, all day, well, if you were Kirk Cousins, would you take this pay cut? And some people arrogantly say, yeah, I would if I've already made $200 million. I heard a stat on the radio. Kirk Cousins is the 11th highest paid NFL player in NFL history. Only 10 players in the history of NFL made more money than Kirk Cousins. Bully for Kirk Cousins. Good for him. Absolutely. But at some point, what's more important to you? You've made $200 some million. You're going to get another 35 in cash this year. That's going to bring your running total to about 240, give or take. I know cap hits this, void years that, spreading out the cap hits, whatever. Kirk Cousins signed a 3-year, $140 million extension. That's going to bring his running total to somewhere in the neighborhood of, 375 to 400, somewhere in there. What's the difference between 325 million and 375 million? Well, here's the thing. When you're somebody that's got money, it's the one thing you want. More money. And I don't begrudge him that. Anybody that begrudges him, I'm sorry, you're missing the point. Now, Kirk Cousins said, you know what? I was serious when I said I want to retire a Viking. And I was serious when I said I want to win a Super Bowl. Okay. If you're going to put that statement out there, then at some point you're going to have to ask yourself, what's more important? Retiring a Viking, cementing a legacy and winning a Super Bowl and proving all of my doubters wrong one more time, or cementing an extra $50 million? I don't begrudge him either side of that coin. If you're going to say, I am here to make as much money as possible, cool. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But It's hard for me to take you seriously about you want to win a Super Bowl and you want to cement your legacy and you want to go down in history as the Vikings' best quarterback. You want to pass Fran Tarkenton, all this other stuff. I know he didn't say those words, and we're sort of paraphrasing there, but you get my point. The point is, if you want to be here for the rest of your career, you want to win a Super Bowl, then you tell your agent, you know what? We don't need to break the bank yet again. The NFL Players Association absolutely loved when Kirk Cousins signed with the Vikings in 2018 because he broke the mold and he set all kinds of records and he reset the quarterback market as far as free agents go. I'm not saying Patrick Mahomes wasn't going to get $1 bazillion, but he got $500 million because a few years earlier, Kirk Cousins broke the market, set the market high for all quarterbacks. Good quarterbacks, great quarterbacks, elite quarterbacks. They're all making more money now because Kirk Cousins got that contract from the Vikings. The NFL Players Association would absolutely hate it if Kirk Cousins said, yeah, I'll take a really, really nice family discounts because I want my team to be able to fill all those holes on defense, get me some better offensive linemen, and maybe get me another receiver, that sort of thing. But I'll say again, Kirk Cousins under no obligation to do that, yo. He's not. And I don't begrudge him. If he decides he wants to get paid, that's fine. Absolutely. But then I'm not going to be able to take you all that serious if you're going to say you want to win a Super Bowl. So let me be clear one more time. I'm not saying he has to. I'm saying that if you want me to take you serious, you might want to consider it. That's all I'm saying. Consider taking a little less. I'm not saying you have to. I'm not saying you're not worth it. I'm not saying your market value isn't this. And by the way, if I hear one more person say we better sign Kirk Cousins to a long-term extension before Daniel Jones gets his, all due respect to my boy SK. No other teams and no other quarterback contracts have any influence on what you decide to do with your quarterback. Just because another team is willing to pay a quarterback that isn't as good as Kirk Cousins X amount of dollars doesn't mean you are then obligated to pay X amount of dollars plus some. No, you're obligated to build your team to win a Super Bowl or at least put yourself in a position to try. You're not obligated to pay. You're not obligated to pay Adam Thielen more money just because he's from Minnesota. If you think that Adam Thielen's contract is not commensurate to what he is able to bring, then you go to him and say, hey, this is what I can give you. Take it or leave it. If you decide to leave it, no hard feelings. And that goes for all the high-priced veterans. That goes for Eric Kendricks, perhaps maybe Harrison Smith, Danielle Hunter. Well, different story on Danielle. He's a little bit younger. But Patrick Peterson isn't owed anything from the Minnesota Vikings. He's just not. So all I'm saying here, ladies and gentlemen, is it is what it is. And market value is what it is. But you are not obligated to. The Vikings are not obligated to say, okay, Kirk, tell us what you want. Oh, that's your market value. Well, I guess we're going to have to pay it to you because we have to. There's no gun to the head to the Minnesota Vikings right now. There isn't. You have a quarterback, a very good quarterback, coming off of his best season. And he's got 1 year left on his deal. And I don't blame Kirk Cousins for what he's – and let's be clear. This report from Tom Pelissero, it came from Kirk Cousins' camp. If you don't already know that, that's where it came from. The Vikings are not going to go out there and say, yeah, Kirk said he doesn't want another 1 year deal. The advantage is to Kirk Cousins for putting that report out. Because he's saying to you, I'm not going to do what I did last year and take 1 more year. This is my opportunity to cash in. This is the last time I'm going to have an opportunity to sign a big contract. Don't blame him. Absolutely. No doubt about it. At the end of the day, yeah, you got Kirk Cousins out there wanting to make as much money as he can. Hey, this is his last chance. So nobody should be begrudging him that. But at the same time, you also have to understand that if we're going to talk about Kirk Cousins last year going 13-4, and all these come from behind victories, all well and good. Absolutely. But we can't blame him for that loss in the playoffs. Dang right. It's not Kirk Cousins' fault they lost in the playoffs. It's the defense. So we need to get a better defense around him. We're going to say the same thing we said to last year when Aaron Rodgers re-signed with the Green Bay Packers. You're complaining about never getting any receivers. You complained for years about never getting any defense, yet you're going to take all the money. Okay. At some point, you got to balance that out. You got to say to yourself, okay, I can do this and I'm fine. Because if I want to win, this is what is required of me, both on the field and on the negotiating table. My stance has always been, I like Kirk Cousins. Don't love him. I'll yell at anybody that says that Kirk Cousins is garbage. He's not garbage. What's up, Worthless? Thanks for joining. Appreciate you. My worthless opinion. That is the single greatest Twitter, YouTube handle, Facebook handle, TikTok, Instagram, best handle ever. My worthless opinion. Thanks for joining me, man. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Thanks, everybody, again for joining. Put it in the comments. What do you think about what came out today? My point is this. Kirk, you want to win? Your family's already taken care of. I'm not saying you have to. I'm not saying you're not worth it. My opinion on Kirk Cousins, good, not great. You say he sucks? I'm going to tell you you're silly. He doesn't suck. He's a very, very good quarterback. You want to tell me he's elite? Sorry. I'm going to say the same thing. He's not elite. He's very, very good. And that's okay. We don't have to sit here and argue about is he elite or is he garbage. All we need to do is accept the fact that he's a very good quarterback, and this is where I can get my team with what's around me. So I'm going to need y'all to put some more stuff around me. Great. Then we're going to need you to not take everything. It's as simple as that. Yes, I know. He's had his moments. There were times where some of the narratives about Kirk Cousins before this year had some truth to them. Were they end-all, be-all? No, they weren't end-all, be-all. They were not. But Kirk Cousins broke a lot of those narratives. Unfortunately, the only one we're going to remember is that 4th and 8. What's up, Nano? Good to see you. Garbage quarterbacks. Check it down. Yeah, that was a dumb play on his part. And guess what? All the goodwill that he had built up all season long by being clutch went right out the window with that play. But what I'm not going to do, Nano, is I'm not going to say that that's the reason they lost the game. I'm not going to say that that means that everything he did is completely gone. But it shows you what we've always known. He is what he is. And what I've said and what I maintain is that Kirk Cousins is a very good quarterback, that if he is surrounded with a lot of talent, might have a chance to win a U.S. Super Bowl. He's the kind of player that is not going to torpedo your team. He's a good hard worker, studies, very meticulous. But is he going to elevate you beyond that next level? Is he going to do what Patrick Mahomes or Jalen Hurts did? Get his team to a Super Bowl on his back? Probably not. That's okay. It is what it is. I'll take Kirk Cousins at less than market value. Absolutely, I would. Kirk Cousins isn't going to take less than market value. I think we have enough evidence of that. So the notion of holding on to, well, maybe we can convince Kirk Cousins to have an average salary cap hit of $30 million a year for the next 3 or 4 years. That ain't going to happen. It's just not. He's not obligated to, but it's not going to happen. So at the end of the day, for me, this is all on the Minnesota Vikings. It's no longer on Kirk Cousins. It's no longer on Kirk Cousins' agent. It's on the Vikings. You go to Kirk Cousins, you say, hey, we want to give you one more deal. One more year on your deal. We're going to extend our lease on you. You know, we like you, and we've been living together, but we're not ready to put a ring on it. And Kirk Cousins is saying, no, y'all need to put a ring on it or you need to let me go. And if I'm the Vikings, you go back and forth in your negotiations. You do this, you do that. What's up, Zone? Yeah, I hear you. Kirk Cousins, you want more than a 1-year deal? You're going to have to take less than what you could get on the open market because we can't build a team that can win around you if you're taking up market value, regardless of the fact that you are worth that. It's not a matter of what you're worth. It's not a matter of what your value is. It's a matter of, can we build enough around you if you take this much? It's that simple, okay? So all of these arguments about, well, he's definitely worth 45. He's definitely worth 50. He is not worth what Patrick Mahomes gets at 50. He's not. I don't even think he's worth 40. I don't think he's worth 45, obviously, either. I think he's worth about 30, 35 at best. And at the end of it, for me, if I was sitting down talking to him, having I don't know if he drinks beer or not, but whatever, I would say, hey, man, tell me why you need this. Tell me why it's more important to you to have this than to have a team around you that could actually win a Super Bowl. That's what I want to know. Let's figure something out. Because I'll bring you back if I've got enough resources to actually build a team around you that you could lead to a Super Bowl. Heck, I'll build you the statue. You win a Super Bowl for the Minnesota Vikings. But if you're going to insist on getting all the money, we're not going to be able to win a championship. So it's on the Vikings at this point to say to Kirk, this is what I can give you. And the reason I'm giving you this much is so this is how I'm going to keep resources available to be able to put the team around you to do the things that you need to win a championship. I can't rebuild this defense overnight. You've got 3 or 4 years left. I can't rebuild this defense if you've taken up all the money. I'm not saying you're not worth it. What's up? I'm going to get to these comments here in just a second here. I'm on a rant right now, but I'll get to everybody in the comments. Andrew, I see you. What's up? Thanks for joining me. What's up, GG? You know what? I like Gigi's comment. I don't know why I randomly grabbed that one, but I'm jing in all seriousness. Bye, Kirk. Thanks for your time. Move on. Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with you. But I love this comment. It's a business. It's not for him. It's for the Vikings. I don't have the soundboard set up yet that Rap got where I can play the applause in the background, so I'm just going to have to do it myself. Listen, I'm going to say it again. Kirk, you want to win a championship? This is what I need you to take, and this is how much I need you not to take so that I can actually put these players around you. It's that simple. You've already made $200-some million. If this was your coming out your rookie contract and we're lowballing you like the way the Washington Commanders did, hey, I get it. Washington Commanders said exactly what I say. They liked Kirk Cousins on a rookie contract. They even liked him on the franchise tag. They didn't like him at market value, and they let him go. And they've been garbage ever since. And you want to know what? If they had kept Kirk Cousins, they would have done about the same thing the Vikings have done. Since 2010, the Vikings have won what? 2 playoff games. How many organizations in the NFL in the last 10, 12 years have won 2 or less playoff games? Lots of them. Yeah, Tom Brady kind of had a little hand in that. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, those guys had a little hand on it. But at some point, what's up, Dave? Hey, thanks for joining me, man. I very much appreciate you. Aside from the fact that you're agreeing with me, but in all seriousness, I appreciate you joining me, man. Bottom line is this. Vikings, don't give in. If Kirk Cousins says he wants an extension because he doesn't want to be a lame duck, fine. Offer him something that will allow you to build the team around him because we're trying to win a championship. And if he says, no, I'm not going to do that, then you say to him, hey, all right, man, it's been great. Give us a list of teams that you're willing to waive your no-trade clause to, and we'll see if we can find out a deal that's beneficial for everybody. And then you put the ball back in his court. You don't need to give in to this guy. You don't need to give in to him like he's Aaron Rodgers in his prime winning MVPs. You don't need to give in to this guy like he's Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow. Yeah, in a little bit, Joe Burrow's going to go to the Bengals and say, I want 5 Brinks trucks backing up to my house. And they're going to have to give him whatever he wants because he's Joe Burrow. That's what the Buffalo Bills had to do with Josh Allen. And by the way, anybody who's saying, oh, no, Kirk has still got 3, 4, 5 more years left. Look at what Tom Brady and Drew Brees and company did. I'll also say, look at what happened to Russell Wilson last year. Mr. Unlimited. He's unlimited. He done went to back-to-back Super Bowls. And what's he doing right now? He's trying to find a way to make himself not look stupid. Although he needs a few lessons in that from time to time. Mr. Unlimited. The Vikings have every right to say, no, we're not just going to give you whatever you want. That's what the Seahawks did. That's why the Seahawks got rid of Russell Wilson and traded him to Denver. Denver gave him $250 million, basically. And what's he got going on right now? And he's at the same age, roughly, as Kirk Cousins. They were in the same draft, if I recall correctly, if not by 1 year, but whatever. You get my point. My overarching point is this. I could live with Kirk Cousins for 1 more year. Like I said, I'm ready to move on from him. It's not going to happen. They are not going to trade Kirk Cousins. What's up, Mary? Appreciate you joining me, as always. Appreciate everybody. If y'all could, hit that like button, hit that share button for me. At some point, Kirk, realize what you are. Realize that everybody on the planet has doubted you from day one. The only thing you can do at this point is one of 2 things. You can reinforce the narratives about you and say, I'm going to take every dollar I can. And I want to win, but, I still want my money. And therefore, my money is more of a priority to me. Okay, Russell Wilson, 1 year younger. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate you. Or you can break some more narratives. Take a little bit less. I'm not saying you got to pay for $5 a year. Let's not get crazy here. Of course, we're going to give you something. Of course, we're not going to make you pay for veterans minimum. But take less money. Allow the Vikings to win. Put a team around you that you can win with and win a Super Bowl. And then you can scream to the world, whether it's Jim Nantz or whoever is calling the game at the Super Bowl, and you're standing up there on the podium like Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and Travis Kelce did, and you can give the biggest F you to the world and say, do you like that? You're not going to do it by taking market value, okay? It's as simple as that. So, having said all that, let me get to some comments here, and I'm going to get back to Kirk in a minute here. Remember 2020, the Vikings were 1 of 5. Could have tanked for Trevor Lawrence, but nope, stuck. Well, yeah, for real. What's the Vikings' realistic chance of getting a top-tier quarterback in the draft? Very good point by Nano. I've said it before. I'll say it again. After 2019, when they lost in the division round of the playoffs to the 49ers, I said, this run is over. I'm not saying trade everybody. But don't just bring everybody back and run it back and make some cursory signings by shopping in the free agent bottom of the barrel bin. And what did they do? Well, they made a trade for Yannick Ngakoue. That was our big move in 2020. Yannick Ngakoue. Y'all remember him? After that 1-6 start that Nano just put up there, we traded him. Why? Because we knew we weren't going anywhere. You could have got some for Kyle Rudolph back then. Could have got some for Harrison Smith back then. Could have got a lot for Kirk Cousins back then. And no, we're going to play this out. We're 1-5, but we still think we can make the playoffs. What do we do? Oh, we finished 7-9. Oh, so you went, what would that be? Oh, you went 6-4 in the second half of the year. Big deal. Big deal. So you decide to give Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman one more year. Okay, cool. What'd you do after that? Oh, yeah. You went 7-9 again. Well, technically 8-9 because that was the first year of 17 games, but that game against Chicago was meaningless. We were already eliminated. So after 2019, what did we do? We spent 2 years going 7-9 and 8-9. And you could have, sold off some pieces then and got something back in return and started this process sooner. So again, last year they didn't want to do the same thing. They said, nope, we're going to extend Kirk Cousins. We're not going to trade him. Yeah, 13-4. It was an awesome year. Don't have to give any of those wins back. Don't have to pretend that they didn't happen. They did, and it was fun. It was awesome. But what do we know about this Vikings team right now that is different than what we thought we knew this time last year? Nothing. We still have an aging roster. We still have a lot of salary cap issues. We still have all kinds of question marks. We don't have a succession plan at the quarterback position. We just spun our wheels for another year. Was it a fun year? Absolutely. Finally get me off my tail to actually start doing content? Yes, it did. And I had a blast doing it. And I thank each and every one of you that have come and watched me on this channel, on Rap's channel, on GG's with Dave, everybody. SK, the whole gang. And I'm going to keep doing it because I love this team. But I want to see a championship. I am not about doing what is necessary to make sure we keep Kirk Cousins so that we stay a mediocre team. And that's what we are right now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We're a mediocre team. And I know sometimes it's hard to admit that. Okay, this time last year, we were 8-9, and boy, we lost a lot of close games. And if just a couple more of those games had been different, we would have been 10-7. We would have gotten to the playoffs, and we would have been the ones getting spanked by Tampa Bay instead of Philly. Okay, this year, quite the opposite. We're probably about a 10 or 11 win team this year that got a lot of luck. It's reality. Not a bad thing. I'm not saying we have to pretend like, oh, well, our team is garbage. Your team's not garbage. You can't be a garbage team when you have Justin Jefferson on it, okay? You just can't. But at some point, don't be content. Excuse me. Don't be content being just okay. Yes, this team is the team that is constantly going to be fighting for a playoff spot. The conundrum that is Kirk Cousins is that he's good enough to make sure you never have a train wreck season if he's healthy. Kirk Cousins is train wreck proof. He's going to win you 6-7 games, regardless of what else is around him. Just won 13, albeit with some end of the game luck and some clutch performances, but he just won 13 games with the worst defense in the league. So if you don't already know, the problem with Cousins is that he's safe. You know what? Well, if we get rid of Cousins and we go in a different direction, we might be a 4-win team. Yeah, we might. But at some point 2 years from now, we might be a team that can compete for a Super Bowl. Isn't that what the goal is? Isn't that what we want? Is to compete for Super Bowls instead of competing for division titles and having a ceiling of the wild card round, maybe the divisional round. Here's the thing. I was born in 1979, so I've never even seen the Vikings go to a Super Bowl. In my lifetime, 87, 98, 2000, 2009, and 2017. So basically once every 8 to 10 years, once a decade or so, we go to the NFC Championship game. The rest of the time, we have a couple years here or there where we're bad, and then we got a slew of years where we're just okay. Are we happy being just okay? I'm not. I'm not saying I want to be bad. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying I want more. And you know what? Kirk Cousins is a very good quarterback. He raises the floor where we're never going to be a train wreck, but he also lowers the ceiling to where we're going to be probably topping out at the divisional round of the playoffs. Time to get some more chats in here. What's up, everybody? In the zone, they're not trading Kirk Cousins for draft picks unless stuff really comes to a head, which I don't see it. I don't see that happening. I would love for that to be the case, but I just don't see it happening. The problem is the Wilfs don't want to take a step back. They want to stay competitive because they think that if you get into the playoffs, anything can happen. And that's all well and good. That's true. Anything can happen. But at some point, aren't you sick of spinning your wheels in, mediocre football, purple purgatory, call it whatever you want? Let's see. Did you see the Purple Bailey did? Yes, I said that earlier, Worthless. That's what I was talking about. He's made the 11th most money in NFL history. What's up, Pops? Thanks for joining. I appreciate it. Everybody hit that like button for me. Hit that share button for me. But I like what Mary's got going on. It was a fun season, but I don't want a fun season. I want a championship. Yeah. And let me be very clear. A lot of people are going to say, Justin, you just hating on Kirk Cousins. No, I'm not. Kirk Cousins is not the Vikings' biggest problem. In fact, here's my stance on Kirk Cousins. He is not the Vikings' problem. He's also not the Vikings' solution. And it can be both. It can be that he's a very good quarterback, but not elite. It can be that he makes sure that you're always going to be at minimum 7 wins. It also can be true that he's also going to be the guy that keeps you from going much further than the divisional round of the playoffs. And unless everything goes right, if you had, let's say, a top 10 defense and a top 10 offensive line and Justin Jefferson and some other offensive weapons, and things go right, you could probably get to an NFC championship game with Kirk. Do I think you can win a Super Bowl with him? Probably not. Probably not. Not saying it's impossible, but it's not hating on Kirk Cousins to say that he has a glass ceiling of about the divisional round of the playoffs. It's not. Yes, don't be afraid of taking a step back. Don't be afraid of moving on from Kirk Cousins, because you know what? It's going to happen at some point. At some point, Kirk Cousins will not be the quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings. I seriously doubt it will be this year. If I had to bet $1 million on who the starting quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings is going to be this year, I'm going to say Kirk Cousins. All I'm saying is this. If Kirk Cousins took a very reasonable deal, which he's not going to, but if he did, could I live with it? Sure. Probably wouldn't like it all that much, but I could live with it. If Kirk Cousins had an average cap hit of $30 million for the next 4 years, yeah, even those of us that doubt that he can win a Super Bowl, I would take that, because that gives you resources to build the team up around him. But him making $45 million a year, it's just not going to happen. This team isn't going to get it. Everybody want all the excuses we want to make for Kirk Cousins, some of which are very, very valid, very, very valid excuses. Some of these excuses are this. Oh, the defense was terrible. How are we going to fix that defense? Now, by the way, all the cap issues that the Vikings are having right now are not exclusive to Kirk Cousins. They are all of these dumb deals with void years that have been done by both Kwesi and more Rick Spielman. Explain to you how void years work. When Dalvin Tomlinson signed his deal, he signed a 2-year deal, $21 million. But they put 3 void years on that. So what that means is his salary cap for his signing bonus was spread out over 5 years instead of being spread out over 2 years. That's why Dalvin Tomlinson's got a 7.5 dead cap hit right now if we don't re-sign him. Remember when we were all laughing at the Green Bay Packers for paying more money against their salary cap for Zadarius Smith this year than the Vikings did? Yeah, it's because they gave him void years. Another side of that coin, the Vikings paid Anthony Barr $10 million on their salary cap this past season, even though he didn't play for us. It's funny. Before Kirk Cousins, and again, I'm not putting all the blame on him. In fact, I'm not even putting half of the blame on him. The Vikings were very, very fiscally conservative spenders when it comes to their salary cap. They always had salary cap room. When Teddy Bridgewater got hurt, you traded for Sam Bradford, who was making $13-14 million. They didn't even blink because they had all kinds of cap room. Then they signed Cousins, and then they went all in, which was the right move. I will not listen to anybody who tells me, well, we should have kept Case Keenum. No. The mistake was not signing Kirk Cousins. The mistake was not realizing that the window had closed and to start the rebuild process. Okay? So anybody come at me and say we should have kept Case Keenum? No, and no. Not listening to it. But at some point, you have to realize you can't just keep re-signing your own players to bigger contracts and not ever bringing any free agents. And oh, by the way, having terrible draft after draft after draft. That's another part of it. So you see, you got all these components. Is Kirk Cousins the only component for the salary cap mess we're in right now? No, he's not. Does Kirk Cousins get a free pass? No, doesn't get a free pass either. He's part of the problem. Not the whole problem, but part of it. So you sign all these contracts, all these void years. After the 2019 season, they had to restructure and give Kirk an extension to save some salary cap room. They were about $15 million over, if I recall correctly, give or take. 2021, they were about 18, 19 million over. This year, 24 million over. Why? Because they keep kicking the can down the road to re-sign players like Adam Thielen and Harrison Smith as a couple of examples. Dalvin Cook's another one. We all love these players, but it's not about the name on the back of the jersey. It's about the name on the front of the jersey. And you have to do what makes sense to win a championship for your team, not what makes sense for an individual. Whether that's Cousins, whether that's Cook, whether that's Thielen, any of these guys, I don't care. I'm not making this just about him. I know the title is about him, and that's what we're going with because that's the news of the day. It's about all of them. At some point, make your decisions to move on. Make your decisions to say, you know what? We squeezed every nickel and dime out of this that we can. We didn't win our championship. Okay, time to come up with a different strategy. If plan A doesn't work, you don't do plan A 2.0. You find a plan B. And at some point, you have to understand, okay, JJ, we keeping JJ. Yeah, we definitely keeping our tackles. Definitely keeping TJ Hawkinson. And there's other players, Danielle Hunter, as an example. But you don't just hold on to older players or players that are going to cost you more and prohibit you from signing free agent. Every time we talk about the Vikings need to do a better job of putting an offensive line in front of Kirk Cousins, who have we signed offensive line-wise since Kirk Cousins has been here of consequence? The answer is nobody. Oh, well, Joe Thuney last year, after Kansas City got beat up by Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl, they went out and got Joe Thuney. It would have been nice for the Vikings to get a Joe Thuney. We don't have any money. Partly Kirk, partly Cook, partly Anthony Barr, partly Harrison Smith, partly Adam Thielen. You made these choices. And every single year you do these void years and you kick the can down the road. Instead of starting out with salary cap space, you're starting out having to clear salary cap space just to get to even. Just to get to even. Well, the salary cap goes up every year, so it's okay if we spend future money. You do realize that the salary cap goes up for everybody, not just the Vikings. Oh, it's like having a $10,000 credit card, and you've maxed it out. And you make a payment arrangement with your credit card company. Your credit card company says, okay, we'll raise your credit limit by $2,000. Okay, sweet. Now I got $2,000 I can use. Oh, and we'll extend your credit next year by another $3,000. Here's what the Vikings have been doing with all these void years and pushing the can down the road, kicking the can. They've been spending their credit limit raises that they're going to get in future years on current years, which is why every single year the Vikings have salary cap problems. At some point, stop digging yourself out of a hole 1 year at a time. Stop digging yourself out of your hole 1 year at a time. Make the choice to say, you know what, we got to cut this player, we got to trade this player, we have to not re-sign that player. And that starts with the quarterback. He's not the only one. So no, don't come at me and say, hey, you're just talking about Cousins, you're not talking about anybody else. I'm talking about everybody. But okay, he's Kirk Cousins. So of course he's going to be controversial. And he makes the most. So of course we're going to talk about him. Why would we be talking days on end about Adam Thielen? We know what Adam Thielen is and we know what we have to do. See, that's the funny part. Some of the Kirk stands understand that Adam Thielen probably needs to be somewhere else next year because of what he brings and how much he costs. But they don't dare say that about Kirk Cousins. Why? Oh, Kirk Cousins is a top 10 quarterback. You can't just find top 10 quarterbacks. You're right. You can't. You're so afraid of being bad that it scares you from the possibility of being great. I used this analogy the other day when I was on Rap's channel. Now, I'm going to just say the guy side of it. I know there's ladies in the house, so I'm not going to get too well. But it's like you're a guy that's used to dating 3s and 4s. A new girl who's a 6 transfers into your high school, and she wants to date you because she had been dating the football players and the basketball players, and she got burned a bazillion times. So she wants to date you as the band geek. And you're thinking, oh, all right, I got some. Well, she's not a 7 or an 8, but she a 6. Okay. And after a few months or a few years of dating this 6, you're wondering, well, can I do better than this 6? Well, I'm so used to dating 3s and 4s. I'm so afraid that if I give up on my 6, that maybe I'll go back to 3s and 4s. You might go back to 3 and 4. You might go back to Christian Ponder and Teddy Bridgewater and Tavares Jackson. You might. You also might end up with something better. Don't be comfortable being comfortable. You're not going to win a Super Bowl being comfortable. You're right. It might take a year or two where you're bad. And nobody's going to be happy being bad. Nobody ever is, right? So it's okay to be bad for a couple of years. It's okay to take that risk. Because guess what? You stick with what you got, you're going to stay where you've been, which is every year around Christmas time, the Vikings are either one game away from clinching a wild card spot or maybe clinching the division and putting themselves for a nice first round exit and maybe exiting in the division round of the playoffs. At some point, I'm okay giving up losing in the first or second round if it means 3-4 years from now we might have a chance of actually getting to, much less winning a Super Bowl. I'm willing to do that. Put it in the comments there. Are you scared of being bad? Because guess what? Otherwise, you're going to stay right in the middle where you've always been. The Vikings are never bad enough to be in a position to draft a franchise quarterback. And that's throughout the history of the Vikings, by the way. That's not just with Kirk Cousins. Think about the Vikings' history. They've rarely ever train wrecked, and they're rarely ever great. Okay, yeah, they had that run in the 70s with Bud Grant and the Purple People Leaders. That was before my time. So I ain't going to talk too much about that. But don't be afraid of taking a step back. We might get Christian Ponder, and we might be bad for 5 years. Okay, as opposed to what? Being mediocre for 5 more years. What's the difference? You ain't winning a Super Bowl either way. Everybody talking about the Kansas City Chiefs and what they did with Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes. First of all, let's take Patrick Mahomes out of this conversation right now. Forget about the result. Just think about the process. The process is Alex Smith was a very solid quarterback, much like Kirk Cousins. I'm not going to say better, worse, not the point. The point is they went to the playoffs 4 years in a row. Sometimes they lost in the divisional round of the playoffs. Sometimes they lost in the wild card round of the playoffs. But they were winning double-digit games for 4 straight years. And they finally said, you know what? We have reached our potential with this guy. We're going to give up, and we're going to try something else. And it worked. They got lucky. Is it always going to be that simple? No. Of course, it's not always going to be that simple. But you can't use the time that it worked as an argument as to, well, that only happens once a generation, so don't bother trying it. Really? You want to keep trying the same mediocre stuff you've been doing over and over and over and over again? Okay. Let me put it to you this way. After the Green Bay Packers got to 3 NFC Championship games and lost, there was some talk about, well, should they move off Aaron Rodgers and go to Jordan Love? That would have been taking a huge risk. A team that has gone to the NFC Championship game 3 years in a row, going to a Jordan Love type from an Aaron Rodgers, that would have been taking a humongous risk. What are the Vikings really risking right now? We're risking not being mediocre. There's 3 kinds of teams. There's bad teams, there's mediocre teams, and then there's great teams. We're not risking a great team. We're risking a mediocre team. So I'm going to wrap here in about 5 more minutes. Put any more comments in there if you want, but let me get some of them up here. Championships team do not keep players when it's time to make changes. They know when it's time to be done. Thank you, Mary. Worthless gave you a thumbs up for that. Someone once said deficits don't matter. Well, there's that. Thanks, Worthless. I appreciate you. In all seriousness, if Kirk Cousins doesn't want to take another 1-year deal, that's his right. That's his prerogative. If Kirk Cousins wants to break the bank, that's his right. That's his prerogative, and I don't begrudge him that. But it's incumbent upon the Minnesota Vikings to say, you know what? We've gone as far as we can with this. Let's go in a different direction. Play out your last year, and if you don't like it, tell us what teams we can trade you to. That's my mantra. That's my mindset right now. I mean, my mindset is actually just trade him and let's just start the process now. Oh, but we were 13-4 last year. All we need to do is fix the defense, and we can be a Super Bowl contender. You guys, the defense being fixed is not the difference between this team being a first-round out and a Super Bowl contender. It's not. I'd like to think it is. And you know what? If they keep Kirk Cousins and they finagle around some salary cap by cutting some players and they bring a player or two in and they have home runs in this draft and we're in the NFC Championship game next year, I will play this tape back and say I was wrong. I'm willing to admit it. I'd absolutely be willing to admit it. You know why? Because then we'd be having fun. I'm okay with that. But at this point, after 45 some odd years, darn near, I'm sick of mediocrity. I'm sick of once a decade going to the NFC Championship game just to get our hearts broken. Okay? I'm willing to take a risk. I'm willing to give up my comfortable 6. That's the other thing about that analogy. You start dating that 6 for a while and you're so scared of going back to 3s and 4s that you try to fool yourself into thinking that this 6 is actually a 7.5 or an 8. That's what the Kirk stands do. They want to think that Kirk Cousins is an 8. He's not. And that's okay. That doesn't mean I'm saying he's garbage. That's what drives me crazy. This civil war with this Vikings Twitter's got to stop. It's got to stop. I want nothing else. I want him to be gone just so that we can find something else to argue over because I'm so sick of arguing about Kirk Cousins. This is a very good analogy too, Mary. Thank you. I once stayed in a bad job that was going nowhere. I stayed out of fear. What a waste. That's another one. Let's say you got a job that you've been at for 3-4 years and you like your job, but it's kind of gotten weary, kind of gotten stale. You're kind of at the point where you don't like your boss, you don't like the people you're working with, but at the same time, you're just like, well, I can't just quit my job until I have an exit strategy because I got bills to pay. Okay, so you got a choice. You start looking for a job, or do you just say, well, this is the best job I can get? You may not ever take that chance. You may not find that dream job you've been looking for. Job that pays you more money. Job that at the very least is not as stressful as the one you got right now. But you don't make that move. Why? Because you're comfortable. You're comfortable. You know what? At some point, stop being comfortable being mediocre. Dare to be great, not dare to be mediocre. Dare to win a championship. Just one before we die, right? Isn't that what we all want? Put it in the comments. Put I'm okay being mediocre. Put M for mediocre. Put S for Super Bowl. Who wants the Super Bowl? Who wants to be mediocre? Because if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, it's the definition of insanity. It's the definition of, well, I'm scared that I'm going to be bad, so I'm going to be happy being mediocre. I'm sorry, guys. I am. And that's not hating Kirk Cousins. It's just, no. I don't mind giving him a 1-year extension. close to market value, as long as it comes with that you are going to start looking for your replacement for him. If you want to tell me that, hey, I'm going to keep Kirk Cousins for another year or two, but I'm finally going to draft his replacement so that I can start grooming my replacement, fine, I can live with that. What I can't live with is 3 more years and we're not even going to bother trying to find somebody else. That's what I can't live with. So that's the funny thing. Got into a discussion. The person's like, well, this is not the year to draft a quarterback. This quarterback draft class and where we are picking, we're not in a good spot. This is not the right year to do it. Y'all said the same thing last year. And next year, what are you going to say? Well, next year's draft class is going to be better than this year's draft class, so let's just wait 1 more year. All the while, you're keeping Kirk Cousins, who, like I said, is going to keep you at 7 wins at minimum. You're going to be somewhere between 7 and 10 wins when you have Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson, which means you're never going to be a top 10 picking team where you're in a position so that you can draft your next quarterback. If the Vikings wanted to trade up into the top 10, do you know how much draft capital it would cost them? More than they even got. So it's this perpetual cycle. This is not the year to do it because the draft class isn't good enough. Or we're not in the best position to take the next quarterback because we're drafting in the 20s and the good quarterbacks are all going to be top 10 picks. Then you're never going to get out of that cycle if that's your attitude. That's what your attitude has been for forever. And then finally, after Brett Favre's second year and Donovan McNabb's garbage year, you finally took Christian Ponder because you had to. That was a forced pick. It was a garbage pick. Well, now we're so scared to do it ever again. We can't take quarterbacks in the first round. The Vikings have so much bad history doing it. Guess what? After we took Laquan Treadwell, was anybody upset that we took Justin Jefferson? I mean, they took a first-round wide receiver and it didn't work out, so we shouldn't have taken Justin Jefferson, right? Oh, wide receiver is different than quarterback? Okay, I understand. When you put a first-round pick into a quarterback, you're kind of giving him the keys to the franchise, and if it doesn't work, you set yourself back. What are you setting yourself back from? Mediocrity. That's all you're setting yourself back from. Let's get some of these comments up here. What's up, Mafia? I'm sorry. I didn't see you a minute. It's been a few minutes. I'm sorry. What's up, Skol Mafia? Thanks for joining. Purple Punch, 420. He's a good quarterback, but he's aging out and needs too much support to be great. Can't disagree with you. All right, so far we got 1 S there by Dave. We got another S by Worthless and another S by Mary. Who here is going to put their hand up and say, I want to be mediocre? The answer is nobody. Somehow, some way, we got to get it through the Wilfs. That's where this really stems from, is the Wilfs are afraid to take a step back. When they went 13-3 that year, when Adrian Peterson busted out his knee the last game against Washington, the second to last game, they were just like, we can never have this again. You want to know what the problem with the Wilfs is? Here's another analogy. Apparently, I'm the king of analogies. Here's another one. The Wilfs are like people who play in poker tournaments. Texas Hold'em tournaments, you got to pay $10,000 to get in, and they play about 20 poker tournaments a year. So what happens? Usually it's a 5-day tournament. In the first 2 days, people are getting eliminated and they lost their money. Somewhere in the middle of the 3rd day, ding! Hey, the last person who's not getting any money just got eliminated. So everybody else who's here is getting in the money. Yay! And now you try to win a tournament. There are some poker players that just play to win tournaments. They want to win championships. And if they lose money in their endeavor, oh well, they got enough. Who cares? And then there's some people who play poker tournaments and they're trying to make money every tournament they get in. So their first objective is to get to the money. And obviously everybody's first objective is to get to the money. But my point is this. Some poker players will play so conservatively just to make sure that they are not eliminated before they get to the money that it really hinders their ability to actually win the tournament. Okay? If you're playing to come in at least 10th place and you put 85% of your resources to make sure that you at least get to the 10th place, guess what? By the time you get to 10th place, you probably got the 9th or most chips left. That's what the Wilfs are. They're owners that play poker tournaments to make sure that they get as much money out of those tournaments as they can so they don't lose money. And I don't begrudge them that. What do billionaires want? More billions. I get that. But what I'm saying is they're more concerned about not being bad than they are concerned about being great. Their first objective is to not be bad. Their second objective is to win a Super Bowl. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the Wilfs are bad owners or that they're El Cheapo owners. Copyright Red McCombs, rest in peace. But they care more about not being bad than they do about being great. Because if they cared about being great, they wouldn't be so risk averse about taking a year or two off and reloading the roster and clearing the salary cap space necessary to go out and actually sign high-end free agents. We haven't signed a high-end 2018, we signed Kirk Cousins and Sheldon Richardson. You name me a free agent that they have signed since then. The answer is none, because they did nothing but give their money to their existing players, and they always were bargain bin shopping. At some point, take a year where you clear your salary cap debts. Pay off your credit card bill so that you're not always only spending $2,000 on free agents where you got all 10, 12 grand available to you. That's all I'm saying. So all of this talk about Kirk Cousins and Kwesi and who's going to do what, it's all about the mindset of Ziggy and Mark Wilf. They love Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins guarantees them that they're still going to be around in December. See, here's the problem. If you're a bad team and you're basically eliminated the week after Thanksgiving, what happens? Fans start selling off their tickets, or fans just don't start showing up, and people don't care about December at all. The Wilfs care about making sure that they are still relevant in December. They don't care if they're the number one seed, or if they're clinched to playoff spots, or if they're still that graphic that you see in week 16 and 17. Here's all the division leaders, here's all the wild card teams, and here's all the teams that are in the hunt. They want to make sure that they're on that graphic come the end of December. That's their first objective. Their first objective is not to win a Super Bowl. That's their second objective. Okay? And Kirk Cousins is the perfect quarterback for that. He brings the floor up really high. But guess what? He also lowers the ceiling. All right. Time to get some more chats in here. What fans don't realize is there's 31 losers is one winner. Dang right. Perfectly said. I agree. It's been 5 years. The Cousins fans need to come to terms that they're wrong. Yeah. I love this one. Best of the worst, worst of the best, year after year. Common man program. The best of the lousiest and lousiest of the best. You are 100% correct, Dave. Thank you kindly. Very much appreciate you, man. And that's the problem. They're always in a position to be just good enough not to get a franchise quarterback, but not good enough to win a Super Bowl. It's as simple as that. Broken clocks right twice a day, but Kirk State's never been right. I love this one right here. It's assumed Kwesi and Kevin were hired to develop that quarterback. Thank you, Dave. I had that on my notes. Got on such a rant, I almost forgot about it. Here's the thing. If you believe that Kevin O'Connell was the right choice for Kirk Cousins because he's going to unlock Kirk Cousins in ways that Mike Zimmer and the Kubiaks and Stefanski's never did, and I think we have some pretty good evidence that he did that, then why are we so afraid to bring in the next guy? Don't we have that faith in Kevin O'Connell that maybe he might also be able to, I don't know, develop a quarterback? Isn't that what he was brought in for? Great point, Dave. What's up, G-Mac? Thanks for joining us. Very much appreciate you. This is the right coaching staff to develop quarterback. I hope so. Isn't that what they brought him in for? I totally agree. Let's see. Crap, missed the notification. Hey, what's on the menu tonight? Oh, I don't know. Some quarterback who said, I'm not taking a short-term deal. So to recap for anybody just joining me, I put it like this. The Vikings and Kirk Cousins have been dating. They've never been married. That's why they gave him a 3-year deal and then a 2-year extension, then a 1-year extension. They moved in together, and they keep signing that lease, but they don't buy the house. And Kirk Cousins has said today, you know what? I'm kind of done with this leasing thing. I'm kind of done with this dating thing. I'm not going to take a 1-year deal. Sign me to a 3-year deal. I want to get married. Put a ring on it. Let me finish my career here. And the Vikings are like, well, here's the deal. I kind of want you for 1 more year because we're kind of ready to go in a different direction, which puts the onus back on the Vikings. Don't cave into Kirk Cousins' demands. It's as simple as that. He's under contract for 1 more year. If you can't reach a deal that is beneficial to help you build a roster around this guy or a roster to win a Super Bowl in general, then say, hey, man, you can play the last year of your deal. If you don't want to be here, you can give us a list of teams that you'll waive your no-trade clause to. That's what Kwesi and Wilfs should be doing. I'm a little scared, though, because I think the Wilfs are going to cave into him. I really honestly do think that's a decent possibility. The guy who's the GM for Chicago that interviewed for the Vikings, Brian Poles or something, whatever. Somebody put that in there for me, would you? I don't have. It's just me here, so I can't sidetrack and look stuff up here. But Poles came in and he said, hey, if you want to win a Super Bowl, you need to tear down this roster. Now, I'm not saying that I wish the Vikings had done what the Bears did, which is totally tear it down. I'm not saying that. You can reload and rebuild in a year or two without totally tearing it down. But that's why he didn't get hired. The Will said, no. We don't do that around here. We stay competitive every year. We do whatever it takes. Let's see what else we got here. What's up with this? It's almost disrespectful to the fan base to think we'll stop spending money if the team stinks for a season or two. Thank you. This is the most loyal fan base in the history of sports. You want to know why? Because we've never won a championship. We are the winningest franchise without a championship in the history of men's sports and maybe women's sports too. I don't know exactly all of that. But the point I'm making here is they should not be afraid to be bad. They really shouldn't. They should know. This fan base said, Governor Walz or whoever the governor was at the time, you better get this Viking Stadium deal done or we're going to riot if they move the team to LA. And this ownership group, they've done their part. TCO is incredible. Anybody here been to Mankato back in the day? Put your hand in put it in the comment. Did you ever go to training camp in Mankato? Slight difference at TCO. Slight difference than Winter Park. Okay? So yes, the Wilfs, they care. I'm not saying they don't care. It's just that their mindset is they're so afraid of being bad that they're just going to be comfortable being content with Kirk Cousins and comfortable being mediocre. G-Mac, perfect. Playoff quarterback, Super Bowl quarterback, doubtful. I totally agree. I don't know what you meant there, Bandino, but thanks for joining. Keep it in there. I've waited 58 years. All right, Mary, you got me. I'm finna be, I can't even count, 44. So you got me by a little bit. At some point, we want to stop believing we have a dream come true. Yeah, I agree. Just one before I die. If we got more than one Super Bowl in my lifetime, that's gravy. That's icing on the cake. I just want one. I just want to be able, you know what I want to do? This will take you back. Some of you always remember this. Back in the 80s in the NBA, it was the Lakers and the Celtics. They're the ones that Magic and Larry saved the NBA. Michael Jordan did. Michael Jordan took it to a whole new level after Magic and Larry saved it. But the point I'm making is this. The Lakers and the Celtics have played in the finals like 8 or 9 times, and the Celtics won every single time. The Celtics were the Lakers' kryptonite all the way back to the 60s, even when the Lakers had better teams. And I remember when the Lakers finally beat the Celtics in 1985, late great Dr. Jerry Buss, when he got that trophy, and Brent Musburger put that microphone in front of him, he says this. This sentence is removed from the English language. It can never be said again that the Lakers have never beaten the Celtics in the finals. And that's the first thing I'm going to say the day the Vikings win a Super Bowl. It can never be said again that the Vikings have never won a Super Bowl. I just want that. If we get more than that one, so much the better. But I ain't tripping after that. I just want one. I love Larry Bird as a teenager. Yeah, all right. Yeah, we got you. We got you. I love this one. Give me 2 bad years for championship. Give me 5 bad years for a championship. If the Vikings were bad for 5 years, and then they had a 3-year window where they went to the Super Bowl twice and the NFC Championship game once, and they won at least one of those Super Bowls, they could be bad for 10 years after that. I wouldn't care. Just one before we die. I like this one, though. Purple Punch, you're right on top of it. Kwesi probably doesn't want to trade Kirk to an NFC team. They shouldn't be afraid to play against Kirk. They know his tendencies to joke. I totally agree with you. It ain't even about – honestly, I don't think it's about Kwesi, and I don't think it was ever about Rick Spielman either. I think it was about the Wilfs. I think the Wilfs, since they bought this team, they had 1 year of Mike Tyson, then 5 years of Brad Childress and Leslie Frazier before 8 years of Mike Zimmer. And you know what? They've been playing quarterback carousel. And 1 year of Favre was better than anything Kirk has ever done. The Case Keenum magic carpet ride, I don't know if that was better than anything Kirk has ever done. But see, the Wilfs are just afraid of not having anything. Again, they've been dating 4s and 5s, 3s and 4s. They're now dating a 6, and they're afraid that if they give up their 6, they might go back to 3s and 4s. Their fear of dating 3s and 4s is greater than their desire to date 7, 8s, or 9s. That's what it simply boils down to. What's up, Drop Shot? Thanks for joining. It's going to be a 5 or 6 year contract. I will riot. I will be on this channel, and I will be on Rap's channel every night. For I don't even know how long. I will riot if they give him a 5 or 6 year deal. And I don't care if it's one of those 5 or 6 years deals where it's really a 2-year deal with funny money in the back end. I don't care. They signed him for that. I'm done. I mean, I'm not done. I'm always going to love the Vikings. I'm always going to do this content thing. But as long as I got this microphone in front of me, I will riot every day if they give him that sort of deal. Rams fans ain't crying over this season. No, they are not. Not a single Rams player, not a single Rams fan, not a single member of the Rams organization is pissed off that they had a crap year because they got a Lombardi trophy from 2 years ago. It's that simple. People keep asking me, hey, do you think the Vikings should do what the Rams did and start trading? No, absolutely not. The time to do it was 2019. I did a video the other day about Jalen Ramsey, and I did one the other day about Dalvin Tomlinson. So if you haven't checked those out, go check them out for me. Hit the like buttons and all that good stuff. But I would take Jalen Ramsey on this team, but I'm not giving up my first-round pick for him. And I'm not going to go full Rams and just go buck wild trading all my draft picks because this team is not 1 or 2 players away from doing such things. This team should have done that in 2019. I even said it back then. 2019 was the time to get Jalen Ramsey from the Jaguars like the Rams did for a first-round pick, because that was a team that still was put together. This team isn't. Don't let that 13-4 fool you. Somebody came at me today and said that 2017 wasn't as good as it ended up being because they got trounced in the NFC Championship game. Listen, because he was just like, Kirk Cousins never had a good defense. He had a good defense in 18 and 19. Let's not pretend that he has never had a good defense here. He had good defenses those 2 years. Absolutely he did. Well, those defenses weren't that bad. It's been proven out that team was really not as good as we thought it was. Well, then that same thing better apply to this year's team too, that this 13-4 isn't as much as we thought it was. You can't have it both ways. But it was a Kirk stand who, nothing can ever be Kirk Cousins' problem. That's the funny thing about this Kirk Cousins thing. One group wants to blame Kirk Cousins for everything that's gone wrong, and it's nothing else, and that's not true. Another faction wants to say everything else is wrong and Kirk Cousins is blameless. That's not true either. It's a little bit of both. A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Kirk can play a long time. He never gets hit as long as he has his arm. He will have a job. That is factually correct. Hopefully. And again, I'm not saying I don't like the guy. He's a good human being. I'm not talking about him as a person. I'm talking about him as a quarterback. I'm talking about roster construction. And I'm talking about the ability to put a team together that can actually win a Super Bowl. Is that so much to ask? Is it really so much to ask, ladies and gentlemen? I'll tell you what, I'm going to get off this mic in the next couple of minutes. I want to thank everybody for joining. Please hit that like button. Put some comments in after the fact and hit that share button and tweet it out. Do whatever you got to do. I appreciate everybody for joining me tonight. I really do. Because at some point, Kirk Cousins is going to get a contract extension. That's my prediction. I just really hope that if you sign Kirk Cousins to a 3-year deal for, say, like $25 million a year, I'll take that. I'll live with that. It's not my first choice. But at that point, if his cap hit is averaging around $30 million a year for the next 4 years, okay, I can live with that, because then you can actually do the things I talked about doing, which is put pieces around him and actually try to put a team together that can win a Super Bowl. Wouldn't be my choice, because guess what? You got a year or two left, and then you got to give JJ his money. So, yeah, no thanks. Let's just play this year out, and let's just move on. And you know what? It's going to be okay. We're Viking fans. We love our team. We'll survive. We will survive without Kirk Cousins. Someday that's going to come. Whether that's 1 year from now, 5 years from now, we will survive without Kirk Cousins. He's okay. Anybody want to try and tell me he's better than Dante and he's better than Tommy Kramer and he's already better than Fran Tarkenton? Get out of here with that mess. That's the fun part of being in the middle of this debate. I don't hate Kirk Cousins, but I don't love him either. And it's just like, I argue with both sides. It's just like, all right, I can't deal with y'all anymore. I really just can't deal with y'all anymore. I can't deal with people who want to say he's garbage, and I can't deal anymore with people who want to say he's the best quarterback of all time in Vikings history. Stop it already. He's a good quarterback, but he just is what he is. There's a reason the Vikings did not sign Case Keenum after the fact. They knew that they had reached the pinnacle of what they were going to do with him. What's up, David Michelson? Hate-love relationship. Ain't that the truth, David? I'll give you one, too. I don't have my sound bar hooked up yet, so... If you missed any part of the show, go back and podcast it back there on YouTube there. Like I said, hit that like buttons for me. I'm going to get out of here from now. I'm going to take a few minutes break. If you haven't already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button for me. Oh, and also check out my boys, Casey and Jamie on GG Sports. They're going to have a show starting off here in just a couple of minutes. And also check out my boy Rap. They're going head to head. They didn't realize that they both scheduled a show tonight at the same time. So check out GG Sports Podcast. Check out Purple Pocket Podcast. If Rap gets too out of control, if he decides he wants somebody to calm him down, maybe I'll jump in with him a little bit there too. But thank you, everybody, for joining me on my first solo live for an hour show that I've ever done. I appreciate y'all. Thanks, everybody. Gigi, Worthless, Dave, Mary, Dave Michelson, Drop Shot. I appreciate y'all. Nothing but love. We do this for you guys. We don't do this for the fun of it. I don't get paid for this. I just do it for fun. And I do it because we're a Vikings community. Hit that like button. Thank you kindly. Have a great rest of your evening. And as always, skol Vikings! That's for you, Dave.